My sister left 4 kids at my house, saying, "Just 1 hour," but she never came back. 12 years later, she showed up with my parents and a lawyer, accusing me of kidnapping them. When I sued and played her voicemail for the judge, he was stunned and asked, "Do they know about this?" "Not yet," I replied. Let me back up. That rainy Tuesday in 2012, I was 26, fresh off a promotion at my architecture firm. My doorbell rang at 11 p.m. My sister stood there, 4 kids behind her, soaking wet, ages 2, 5, 7, and 9. "Emergency at work. Be back by midnight." She handed me a diaper bag with 3 crackers and a juice box, and she was gone. I called her at 2 a.m., voicemail. At 6 a.m., voicemail. I took the day off work and called my parents. "Give her time. She's stressed." Day 3, I found her waitress uniform in my apartment complex dumpster. She'd quit her job 3 days before dropping the kids off. I became a dad overnight, changed careers to remote work so I could be home, spent $47,000 of my grad school savings on clothes, beds, and therapy. The youngest, Nina, had night terrors for 2 years straight. Year 5, I was engaged. Beautiful woman. Then Nina got pneumonia the week before our wedding, 102-degree fever, hospital for 6 days. I canceled everything to stay with her. My fiancé left a note. I didn't sign up to be a stepmom to someone else's abandoned kids. My parents' response when I told them, "Well, you made your choice." I kept trying to find my sister. Hired a private investigator for $3,200. Nothing. She'd vanished completely. Changed her phone number. No social media. Ghost. The kids asked about her constantly those first few years. "Where's mommy?" I'd say she was working far away. Eventually, they stopped asking. Then last month, my doorbell rang. I opened it. There was my sister, but different. Cartier bracelet, designer bag, professional blowout. Behind her, my parents. Behind them, a man in a $5,000 suit holding a briefcase. "Hi, Kevin. We need to talk about my children." Turns out my sister had married a Texas oil executive in 2013, just 2 weeks after she dropped her kids on me. She'd lived in a mansion in Houston for 9 years. He was filing for divorce now, and his prenup said she gets nothing unless she has custody of dependent children. She needed the kids to claim his $8 million estate. Her lawyer sat in my living room and slid papers across my coffee table. "Ms. Warren has been desperately trying to contact her children for years, but you've blocked all communication. We're filing for emergency custody based on parental alienation and unlawful restraint." My mom actually had the nerve to say, "Kevin, you've had your fun playing house. Time to give them back to their real mother." The oldest, now 21, was home from college. She looked at my sister and said, "Who are you?" My sister's eyes filled with tears. "Baby, it's mommy." Her response, "My dad's name is Kevin. We went to court." My sister's lawyer was good, really good. He brought a child psychologist who testified about the trauma of maternal separation and showed falsified hospital records claiming my sister had a documented postpartum crisis in 2012 and that I'd blocked her from treatment and from seeing her kids. My parents testified, saying they'd witnessed me refusing to let her visit, saying I'd threatened her. Complete lies. The judge was leaning in my sister's favor. I could see it. She was crying on the stand, talking about how much she'd missed them. Then my lawyer stood up. "Your Honor, I have one piece of evidence. A voicemail from the plaintiff, dated April 17th, 2015. I pulled out my phone. I'd kept the same number for 12 years for one reason, so my sister could always reach me if she changed her mind. She had called once, drunk, at 2 a.m. The courtroom went silent as my lawyer played it on speaker. The voicemail played. It was over, or so I thought. But then, Lily, my oldest, 21, home from college, raised her hand from the gallery. The judge, confused, acknowledged her. She stood up, reached into her backpack, and placed a thick envelope on the table in front of my lawyer. She looked at me first. I had no idea what was in it. "She's been sending them letters for 4 years, Lily said. "To me, only me. She asked me not to tell you." She sat back down. The courtroom was silent. My sister had gone completely white, and I realized in that moment that the daughter who just called me dad in this very courtroom had been carrying a secret that could undo everything. My lawyer picked up the envelope. I could see his hands weren't quite steady. He looked at me, and I nodded, even though I had no idea what I was agreeing to. He opened it and started pulling out letters. Not a few, dozens, all addressed to Lily at her college dorm. Different dates, different postmarks, all from Houston. The judge leaned forward. "Counsel, what exactly are we looking at here?" My lawyer spread them across the table. "Letters from the plaintiff to her eldest daughter, spanning from 2020 to 2024, sent directly to her university address." I grabbed the nearest one. My hands were shaking. I started reading, and honestly, it took me a second to even process what I was seeing. The letter didn't start with "I miss you" or "I'm sorry." It started with a question about the Texas divorce timeline, then another about whether Lily had any documentation of when she was dropped off, then something about whether she remembered me ever mentioning legal guardianship paperwork. I picked up another letter. Same thing. This one asked if Lily knew anything about the savings I'd used, whether I'd ever mentioned how much, whether the other kids remembered their mom at all, or if I'd, quote, poisoned them against her. Not one letter asked about Nina. Not one asked about the middle two. I went through 5, 6, 7 letters. My sister had written to Lily for 4 years and never once said their names. I looked up. Lily was still standing in the gallery, arms crossed, staring straight ahead. My sister was whispering something frantic to her lawyer. My mom had her hand over her mouth. The judge cleared his throat. "Does the plaintiff wish to explain the contents of this correspondence?" My sister's lawyer stood up fast. "Your Honor, these letters demonstrate years of attempted contact that my client's brother deliberately concealed from—" "I read them," I said. My voice came out louder than I meant it to. "I'm reading them right now. She doesn't ask about her kids. Not once." The lawyer's face went hard. "That is a gross mischaracterization." "She asks about money," I said. I held up one of the letters. "She asks about documents. She asks whether Lily remembers dates. She's interviewing her own daughter like she's building a legal case. Your Honor, this is speculation." The judge held up his hand. "I'll review the letters myself during recess. We're taking 30 minutes. The gavel came down, and everyone started moving. My sister tried to walk toward Lily, but her lawyer grabbed her arm and pulled her back. My parents just sat there. My dad looked like he'd been hit by a truck. I went straight to Lily. She was already in the hallway, leaning against the wall with her eyes closed. I stopped a few feet away. I didn't know what to say. I didn't even know what I was feeling yet. Anger, maybe. Betrayal. But also something else I couldn't name. "Lily," she opened her eyes. "I knew you'd find out eventually. Why didn't you tell me?" She looked at the floor. "Because I didn't want you to think I was choosing her." My lawyer had booked a small room down the hall for recess. He waved us in. The other 3 kids were already there. Nina was sitting on the table swinging her legs. The middle 2, James and Sophie, were on their phones. They all looked up when we walked in. "What's going on?" James asked. He was 19 now, finishing his 2nd year at community college. "Why'd Lily do that?" Lily sat down in the corner. I stayed standing. My lawyer closed the door. "She's been writing to your mom," I said, "for 4 years." Nina stopped swinging her legs. Sophie put her phone down. James blinked. "Why?" Lily's voice was quiet. "Because I wanted to know." "Know what?" Sophie asked. "Where I came from." Lily looked at me. "I didn't do it to hurt you. I swear. She reached out when I was 17, right after I graduated high school. Sent a letter to the house. You were at work. I opened it. She said she wanted to reconnect. She said she'd changed. I wrote back." "What did you say?" I asked. Lily pulled out her phone, scrolled for a second, then handed it to me. "I saved photos of all of them, just in case." I looked at the screen. It was a scanned image of a handwritten letter, Lily's handwriting, dated September 2020. "I don't know if I should be writing this. I don't know you. I know Kevin. He's the one who stayed. But I guess I'm curious. Why did you leave? Did you ever regret it? Do you think about us?" Simple questions. Direct. I scrolled to the next image. Another letter from Lily a few months later. "You didn't answer my questions. You asked about legal stuff. I don't know why. If you want to talk, actually talk. Tell me what happened. Tell me why you didn't come back." I scrolled again. A third letter. "I asked you 3 times now. You keep changing the subject. If you're not going to be honest, I don't see the point in this." The last letter was from 2 years ago. "I'm not going to help you with whatever you're planning. I don't know what you think I am, but I'm not your informant. If you actually cared, you'd ask about Nina. You'd ask about Sophie and James. You don't, so I'm done." I handed the phone back to Lily. She wouldn't look at me. "Why didn't you show me these?" I asked. "Because I felt stupid," she said. Her voice cracked a little. "I felt stupid for even trying, for thinking maybe she'd actually explain, and I didn't want you to think I was ungrateful, or like I didn't appreciate everything you did." Nina slid off the table and walked over to Lily. She didn't say anything. She just leaned her head on Lily's shoulder. Lily put her arm around her. James looked at me. "So she was just using Lily?" "Yeah," I said. Sophie's jaw was tight. "What a piece of—" "Sophie," I said. She stopped, but she didn't take it back. My lawyer checked his watch. "We've got 20 minutes before we're back in there. They're going to come at this hard. You need to be ready." "For what?" I asked. "They're going to flip it," he said. "They're going to say Lily's letters prove your sister was reaching out and that you were the barrier. They're going to say you manipulated Lily into cutting contact. They're going to make you the villain." And that's exactly what they did. When we went back into the courtroom, my sister's lawyer stood up and he didn't ease into it. He went straight for my throat. "Mr. Warren," he said, looking right at me, "you've presented these letters as evidence of my client's ulterior motives. But what they actually show is a mother desperately trying to reconnect with her child and being systematically undermined by you. do?" I stared at him. "That's not— You had access to Lily's mail. You monitored her communications. And when my client reached out, you coached your niece— sorry, the child you now claim as your daughter— to respond with hostility and suspicion. I didn't even know about the letters," I said. "Convenient," he shot back. "Lily is 21 years old. She's an adult. But she's an adult you raised in an environment where her biological mother was erased, where she was told, repeatedly, that her mother abandoned her. Of course she responded with suspicion. You built that suspicion into her." Lily stood up in the gallery. "That's not true." The judge looked at her. "Miss, please sit down." "He didn't coach me," Lily said. She didn't sit. "I wrote those letters on my own. I asked her questions because I wanted real answers and she didn't give me any. Kevin didn't even know." The lawyer turned to her and his voice got softer, almost sympathetic. It made my skin crawl. "Lily, I understand this is difficult. You've been placed in an impossible position. But the reality is that you were 17 when this correspondence began. A minor, living under your uncle's roof. Do you truly believe your responses weren't influenced by the environment he created?" "I know what I wrote," Lily said. "And I'm sure you believe that," the lawyer said. "But influence doesn't always look like coercion. Sometimes it's just the air you breathe." The judge motioned for Lily to sit. She did, but her hands were in fists. My lawyer stood up. "Your Honor, this is a transparent attempt to reframe documented evidence. The plaintiff's own words, in her own letters, demonstrate a clear focus on financial and legal matters rather than genuine parental concern. The defense is trying to obscure that by attacking Mr. Warren's character. The defense," the other lawyer said, "is pointing out that a 26-year-old man took 4 children and raised them in isolation from their mother for over a decade. He's not a hero. He's a man who saw an opportunity and took it." I felt something snap in my chest. I started to stand up, but my lawyer put his hand on my arm. He didn't say anything. He just shook his head. The other lawyer kept going. "Mr. Warren has painted himself as the selfless uncle who stepped up, but let's look at the facts. He changed careers. He isolated himself. He built a life where these children were entirely dependent on him. And when their mother finally tried to reconnect, he made sure they didn't trust her. That's not love. That's control." Sophie stood up in the gallery. James pulled her back down. Nina was crying. I could hear it from across the room. The judge's voice cut through. "Counsel, I'll ask you to keep your characterizations focused on the evidence." "Of course, Your Honor." The lawyer didn't even blink. "The evidence shows that my client reached out, repeatedly, and she was met with walls at every turn. Walls that Mr. Warren built." My lawyer looked at me. I didn't know what he wanted me to say. I didn't have anything left. Then the door at the back of the courtroom opened. My dad walked in, not to the gallery. He walked straight down the aisle to where my lawyer was sitting, and he stopped. "I need to say something," he said. The judge frowned. "Sir, you've already given your testimony." "I know," my dad said, "and I need to correct it." The courtroom went dead quiet. My sister's face went pale. My mom, still in the gallery, stood up like she was about to say something, but my dad held up his hand, and she stopped. The judge looked at him for a long moment. "Approach the bench." My dad walked up. My sister's lawyer tried to follow, but the judge waved him off. They spoke quietly for maybe 30 seconds. I couldn't hear what was said. Then the judge nodded and my dad stepped back. "Mr. Warren," the judge said, "you're recalled to the stand." My dad walked up, sat down, and put his hand on the Bible again. He was sworn in. His hands were shaking. My sister's lawyer stood up. "Your Honor, I object to this highly irregular—" "Noted," the judge said. "Overruled. Proceed, Mr. Warren." My dad took a breath. He looked at me. Then he looked at my sister. Then he looked down at his hands. "I lied," he said. The lawyer's mouth opened. My sister grabbed his arm. My mom sat back down hard. "I testified earlier that I witnessed Kevin refuse visits from his sister, that I saw him turn her away, that he threatened her. None of that happened. I never saw any of that." "Then why did you say it?" the judge asked. My dad's voice cracked. "Because my wife told me it did. For years. She'd tell me little things. Kevin said this. Kevin did that. Kevin called the kids his and said he hoped their mom never came back. She told me he refused to pass along birthday cards. She told me he was poisoning the kids against their mother. I believed her. I didn't question it. I didn't ask Kevin. I believed her." He looked at my mom. She was staring at the floor. "I didn't know about Texas," my dad continued. "I didn't know about the mansion. I didn't know my daughter got remarried 2 weeks after she dropped her kids off. My wife knew. She's known for years. She told me Kevin was being difficult, that he was keeping the kids from their mom out of spite. I testified against my own son because I thought I was helping my daughter. I wasn't. I was helping a lie." My sister's lawyer was on his feet. "Your Honor, this is clearly a coached—" "Sit down," the judge said. His voice wasn't loud, but the lawyer sat. My dad kept talking. Kevin called us the morning after she left the kids. He was panicking. He didn't know where she was. He asked us to help find her. We told him to give her time. He called us every week for 2 years. We told him she'd come back when she was ready. We didn't help him. We didn't help those kids. We believed my wife when she said Kevin was the problem. And I came into this courtroom, and I lied under oath because I still believed it. I'm sorry. He looked right at me when he said it. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. The judge wrote something down. Does the plaintiff wish to respond to this testimony? My sister's lawyer leaned over and whispered something to her. She shook her head. He whispered again. She shook her head harder. No, Your Honor, the lawyer said. The judge nodded. We'll take another recess. 30 minutes. The gavel came down. I walked out into the hall. I didn't look at my dad. I didn't look at anyone. I just walked until I found a bench and I sat down. My hands were still shaking. James and Sophie came out a minute later. Nina stayed inside with Lily. James sat next to me. You okay? No, I said. Sophie stood in front of me, arms crossed. Grandma knew the whole time? Apparently. That's insane, James said. Like actually insane. I put my head in my hands. I didn't want to cry in a courthouse hallway, but I was about 2 seconds away from it. Dad, Sophie said. I looked up. She never called me that in public. She always said Kevin around other people. Hearing it now, in the middle of all this, just about broke me. We're not going anywhere, she said. You know that, right? I nodded. I didn't trust my voice. James patted my shoulder and stood up. I'm gonna get some air. You want anything? I'm good, I said. He walked off. Sophie stayed. Can I ask you something? She said. Yeah. Why didn't you just give up? I looked at her. What do you mean? Like year 2, year 5, when your fiancé left? When Grandma and Grandpa didn't help? Why didn't you just call CPS and say you couldn't do it? I didn't have a good answer for that. I'd asked myself the same thing 100 times over the years. I don't know, I said. I guess I just kept thinking about what would happen to you guys if I did. Sophie nodded. She sat down next to me. I'm glad you didn't. We sat there for a while. Neither of us said anything. Then my lawyer came out and waved us back in. When we got back to the courtroom, the judge was already at the bench. Everyone took their seats. My sister's lawyer stood up. Your Honor, given the developments this afternoon, my client would like to request a continuance to reassess. Denied, the judge said. We're moving forward. Does the defense have any additional evidence? My lawyer stood up. Yes, Your Honor. I'd like to recall the child psychologist who testified earlier on behalf of the plaintiff. The psychologist, a woman in her 50s with wire-rimmed glasses, walked back to the stand. She did not look happy about it. My lawyer didn't waste time. Dr. Feldman, when you testified earlier today about the trauma of maternal separation and the importance of reunification, had you reviewed the letters submitted into evidence this afternoon? She hesitated. No. Had you been made aware that the plaintiff sent dozens of letters to her eldest daughter over a 4-year period? No. Were you told that those letters focused primarily on financial and legal matters rather than emotional reconnection? I was not given that information, no. My lawyer picked up one of the letters and handed it to her. Would you read the highlighted portion, please? Dr. Feldman put on her glasses and read aloud. Do you remember how much Kevin said he spent on you and your siblings in the first few years? Any specific numbers he mentioned? It could be important later. The courtroom was silent. Dr. Feldman, my lawyer said, in your professional opinion, does that read as a parent attempting to reconnect emotionally with a child? She took off her glasses. No. Does it suggest another motive? Objection, my sister's lawyer said. Calls for speculation. Overruled, the judge said. Answer the question, Dr. Feldman. She looked at my sister. Then she looked at the letter again. It suggests the parent was gathering information for a legal or financial purpose. Would that change any part of your earlier testimony regarding the plaintiff's fitness for reunification? Dr. Feldman set the letter down. She folded her hands. If I had known the nature of the correspondence, I would not have testified that reunification was in the children's best interest. The pattern described here is consistent with manipulation, not maternal bonding. My sister's lawyer was scribbling something on a legal pad. My sister was staring at the table. My mom had left the gallery. I didn't even notice when. My lawyer nodded. No further questions. The judge looked at my sister's lawyer. Redirect? He stood up. No, Your Honor. Dr. Feldman stepped down. The judge made a note. Then he looked up. Does the defense have anything else? One more piece of evidence, Your Honor. My lawyer pulled out my phone. I'd like to play the voicemail referenced earlier, April 17, 2015. He handed the phone to the bailiff, who connected it to the courtroom speakers. The room went quiet. Then my sister's voice came through, slurred and distant, drunk. Hey, Kev, it's me. I know I haven't called. I wanted to say thanks, I guess, for keeping them. I'm in a good situation now, really good. I don't think I can. It's better this way, right? They're better with you. Just keep them a little longer. I'll figure it out later. Or maybe I won't. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, thanks. The line went dead. The silence that followed was the kind that made your ears ring. The judge took off his glasses and rubbed his eyes. He looked tired. He looked at my sister, then at me, then at the kids in the gallery. Does the plaintiff wish to explain this voicemail? My sister's lawyer leaned over and whispered to her again. She whispered back. He shook his head. She said something sharper. He sat back. Your Honor, the lawyer said, my client was going through an extremely difficult time in 2015. She was struggling with— Counselor, the judge interrupted. I didn't ask you. I asked her. My sister looked up. Her eyes were red, but she wasn't crying anymore. She looked at the judge, then at me. For a second, I thought she might actually say something real, something honest. I was scared, she said quietly. I didn't know what I was doing. I thought leaving them with Kevin was the right thing. The judge waited. And now? She didn't answer. He let the silence sit for a long moment. Then he picked up his pen. I'm denying the emergency custody petition in full. My sister's lawyer started to stand, but the judge held up his hand. The timeline alone is damning, the judge continued. This petition was filed 6 days after the Texas divorce proceedings began. The hospital records submitted were falsified. I'm referring those to the state bar for review. The letters demonstrate a clear pattern of manipulation rather than genuine parental concern. And the voicemail, combined with the father's revised testimony, makes it clear that the plaintiff voluntarily relinquished care of these children 12 years ago and made no meaningful effort to reclaim them until it became financially advantageous. He looked at my sister. Ms. Warren, I want to be very clear. You didn't lose these children. You left them. Someone else raised them, fed them, put them through school, sat with them when they were sick, stayed when it was hard. You don't get to come back now because you need them for a prenup clause. My sister's lawyer tried one more time. Your Honor, if we could just— We're done, the judge said. The petition is denied. Full custody remains with Kevin Warren. He paused. And I want the record to reflect that these children were not abandoned twice. Someone stayed. He closed the file. The gavel came down. I sat there. I didn't move. I didn't know if I was allowed to. My lawyer was shaking my hand and saying something, but I couldn't hear him. The kids were behind me, and I heard Nina crying, but it sounded far away. Then Lily was next to me. She put her hand on my shoulder, and I finally looked up. We won, she said. Yeah, I said. She smiled. It was small, but it was real. Let's go home. We walked out into the hallway. My sister was standing by the elevators with her lawyer. She saw me, and for a second I thought she was going to say something, but she didn't. She just looked at me. I looked back. Then the elevator doors opened, and she got in. I didn't see her again after that. My dad caught up with me before we got to the parking lot. He grabbed my arm. I stopped. Kevin. I turned around. I didn't say anything. I don't expect you to forgive me, he said. But I need you to know I didn't understand what I'd done until today. Your mother, she's very good at making things sound reasonable. I should have questioned it. I should have called you. I didn't. That's on me. Yeah, I said. It is. He nodded. He looked like he wanted to say more, but he didn't. He just let go of my arm and walked back toward the courthouse doors. I watched him go. Lily was waiting by the car. You okay? I don't know yet, I said. Fair. We drove home. Nobody talked much. Nina fell asleep in the back. James had his headphones in. Sophie stared out the window the whole way. When we got to the house, I unlocked the door and everyone went inside. I stood on the porch for a second, just breathing. 12 years. 12 years of this. And it was over. Just like that. Lily came back outside. You coming in? Yeah, I said. Just needed a minute. She leaned against the door frame. I'm sorry I didn't tell you about the letters. I know. I wasn't trying to hurt you. I know that too. She looked at me for a long moment. You're not mad? No, I said, and I meant it. You were just trying to figure out where you came from. That's not a betrayal. It felt like one, she said quietly. It wasn't. She nodded. She looked like she wanted to say more but didn't know how. So I said it for her. You're allowed to be curious, I said. That doesn't mean you're ungrateful. It just means you're human. Her eyes got a little watery, but she didn't cry. Thanks, Dad. She went back inside. I stayed on the porch a little longer. Then I followed her in and closed the door behind me. 2 weeks later, I got a call from a law firm in Texas. Not my sister's lawyer, someone else. A man with a thick drawl and an aggressively polite tone. Mr. Warren, my name is Bill Hastings. I represent Edward Calloway in his divorce proceedings against your sister. I'm calling because we need a written statement from you regarding the timeline of when the children were placed in your care. Why? I asked. The prenuptial agreement includes a clause that awards Mrs. Calloway a significant portion of the marital estate if she maintained custody of dependent children during the marriage. We need to establish whether that condition was met. I sat down. What do you need from me? A notarized statement confirming the exact date your sister left the children with you and whether she had legal custody at the time of her marriage. She left them on April 9th, 2012, I said. She married your client on April 20th, 2012. 11 days later. There was a pause on the other end. And did she have legal custody during that period? She didn't have anything, I said. She just left. So no custody agreement was in place. Not until years later when I went to court to formalize it. Understood. I'll have the statement drawn up and sent to you for signature. Thank you for your cooperation, Mr. Warren. He hung up. I sat there holding the phone. Then I called my lawyer. They're going after the prenup clause, I told him. Good, he said. She shouldn't get $1. I signed the statement 3 days later. My lawyer notarized it and sent it to Texas. I didn't hear anything for 2 weeks. Then I got an email from Bill Hastings. Mr. Warren, thanks to your statement, we were able to demonstrate that Mrs. Calloway entered the marriage having already relinquished care of her children. The custody clause has been voided. She will receive her original settlement as outlined in the standard dissolution terms, significantly less than she was seeking. Appreciate your help. I showed the email to Lily. She read it and handed the phone back. How much less? I don't know. Millions, probably. She didn't say anything for a second. Then she smiled. Good. That was it. We didn't talk about it again. A month later, Lily called me from school. It was a Thursday night, late. I was in the kitchen cleaning up from dinner. Hey, I said, everything okay? Yeah, I just wanted to tell you something. What's up? I sent her a letter. One last one. I told her I didn't want any more contact. I stopped wiping the counter. When? Last week. I just got around to telling you. How do you feel about it? Good, she said. Like I'm done, you know? I tried. I wanted to understand, but I don't think there's anything to understand. She is who she is, and I'm okay not having that in my life. Yeah, I said. That makes sense. I also wanted to ask you something. Go ahead. How did you do it? Like, how did you stay consistent all those years without completely losing it? I thought about it for a second. I didn't look too far ahead. I just focused on the next thing that needed doing. It was the only way to not get overwhelmed. That's it? That's it. She was quiet for a moment. Okay, that helps, actually. Good. All right, I gotta go. I have a paper due tomorrow and I haven't started. I laughed. Get off the phone then. Love you, Dad. Love you too. She hung up. I went back to cleaning the kitchen. Nina wandered in a few minutes later, grabbed a glass of water and sat on the counter. Was that Lily? She asked. Yeah. What'd she want? Just checking in. Nina nodded and took a sip of water. She swung her legs a little. Can I ask you something? Sure. Do you ever think about what would have happened if she came back? Like, in the beginning? I looked at her. She was 16 now, taller than me somehow. When did that happen? Sometimes, I said. What do you think would have happened? I don't know. Probably nothing good. She nodded. Yeah, probably not. She hopped off the counter and put her glass in the sink. Thanks for not giving up on us. Nina, I know you don't like when I say stuff like that, but I'm saying it anyway. Thanks. She walked out before I could respond. I stood there in the kitchen by myself for a while. Then I finished the dishes and turned off the lights. 3 weeks later, an envelope showed up in the mail. No return address, just my name and address in printed letters. I opened it. Inside was a single photograph. The 4 kids on my doorstep, soaking wet, standing under the porch light. It was from that first night. I didn't take this photo. I didn't even know it existed. I turned it over. Nothing on the back. No note. No explanation. I stared at it for a long time. I didn't know who sent it. I didn't know how they got it. I didn't know what I was supposed to do with it. I went to the hallway and pulled down one of the school photo frames. I replaced the picture inside with this one and put it back on the shelf, right next to the others. Sophie walked by and stopped. What's that? Old photo, I said. Just found it. She leaned in to look. Oh my God, we were so little. Was that the first night? Yeah, we looked like drowned rats. You kind of were. She laughed and kept walking. I stood there for another minute, just looking at it. Then I went back to the kitchen. 3 weeks after that, Nina came into the living room while I was watching TV. Dad, can I have a friend sleep over Friday? I muted the TV. Yeah, that's fine. Cool. What should we have for dinner? You can pick. She rolled her eyes. Pizza. Obviously. Obviously. She walked back to her room. I turned the TV back on. That was it. Thanks for watching till the end. Make sure to like and subscribe to not miss the next story.